The Good Dudes Grow 2.0.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Good Dudes Grow 2.0. I am excited, actually ecstatic, and I am honored to have my next guest on the show. He's a 10-year veteran NFL badass, a cannabis advocate for first responders to get access to cannabis, especially police officers, also athletes to actually help treat TBIs and pain. He's also an entrepreneur, and from what I've seen lately on his Instagram, he might also be the next country music award winner for 2022, Mr. Kyle Turley. Kyle, thank you for coming to my show.
Man, I appreciate it. It's really good to be with you. Thank you.
Hey, listen, before we start, I want to apologize to you. I kind of Facebook stalked you for the last year or so. After I saw your interview and your story on weeds with Dr. Gupte Sangucha, it's what propelled me to try and find out more about cannabis and how it can help my daughter get off opiates. And unfortunately, before it came legal in the Southeast here in Florida, she ended up passing away from an overdose. But your story propelled me into the whole cannabis and how it can help first responders and people with pain. So thank you very much. Apologize for stalking you, but I appreciate your story because it's driven me to a bigger passion, bigger vision.
Yeah, not at all. I truly appreciate that introduction and that story. I'm sorry that you lost your daughter. That's unfortunate, and it's just doesn't have to happen. We don't have to be this way. We don't have to live this way, and that's all I'm trying to let people know about. I've dealt with a lot of things. I mean, it's not just the loss of a career, the I got to figure it out again thing. These are real things that happen to this brain behind here. And this brain requires that you give it cannabis, as it turns out, to the science, not to my opinion or anybody else's opinion. And, there is a patent that is out there on cannabinoids as neuroprotectants. And so from making the right decisions in taking a medication, cannabis is the answer. At the end of the day, the cannabinoid system is what it's about. It's not about this plant. And if we would, get to that part of this conversation, then we wouldn't have to take these, the reefer madness people that want to keep it from us could even say, all right, fine, let's give it up. But we're also going to give up all these pharmaceuticals, because we don't need those either. Okay.
Right.
You can access stem cells and cannabinoids from a human body, your own human body. You have the ability. We have cannabinoids all in us, and we don't need these medications out here killing us. And that's what happened to me, drove me to cannabis, and that's why we're here. This conversation has expanded to where we've been able to push a needle that hasn't been pushed on this plant since the 1930s when they.
Right, exactly. And so it's been actually written that you had over 100 concussions in your total 10-year career. So you were put on a lot of medication in your career, and that's how kind of like your career ended. Is that correct? Am I far from that?
Yeah, well, I played in over 100 NFL football games, and as a lineman who is on the football field for 60 to 70 plus plays during an NFL football game, during an era that was unbridled by any standard, of where we see the game today. So I don't think you have to be too smart of a person. I don't think you got to be that intelligent to understand that you received at least one concussion a game. So that's where that came from. I have 2 or 3 documented concussions from the NFL, which is still even a rarity. Concussions weren't even documented for the most part back then. I guess I just lucked out into being around decent doctors that cared to make a note, because I started having a lot of other issues going on. Episodes of vertigo became frequent, and these things were very confusing to me and everybody else, because at the time when these things started, I had never even used cannabis, so, or pharmaceuticals to any significant degree, and so these were true signs of neurological damage that was occurring in my brain. They just chose not to tell me about that till we had to push a lawsuit against them to acknowledge this brain disease, CTE.
Right. And when you started using cannabis, there's an interesting story, and that's part of the weed story. When you started, you've basically physically had to illegally, I hate to use the word illegal, but you had to drive across state lines to actually get it. Is that true?
Well, I found certain strains, and certain
Right.
strains were very medicinal to me, and of unbelievable value. So when I found certain people growing these strains, I made myself make sure that I went and got that consistency. And so in Nevada, ran into some partners and some friends out there that were, participating and had a business out there cultivating, and they were cultivating this XJ13 strain. Jack Herrera is another strain, SFVOG. And as it turns out, all of these strains have very similar terpene profiles, which is where, you really find a lot of the healing. And that's why, we've been able to do this in cannabis, taking out all these different cannabinoids to be able to provide this resolution for these ailments. And in these strains, lies that magic. And that's what happened to me. So you better believe that no matter how far it was, I'm in Tennessee right now. I'm in Nashville. I live back here now. So I got to go back to California, and I have to come back here and be a criminal because, of state line thing. This is not a state line, states' rights, city council right to ban this, or somebody's opinion shouldn't matter in this conversation. This is a healthcare issue, and we need to start standing up for it as such, more than what we've already done, which has completely moved the needle. If anybody was to say that a couple of what would be considered pothead jocks were, to move the needle on cannabis, not just football, just athletes in general have changed this conversation. You have a number of athletes out here. We would still be in the dark ages, as they want to put this continually in the court of reefer madness, versus the hippies, and this conversation of semantics that goes nowhere.
Right. And what you're saying is, do you still feel now that even though we've pushed the needle further from the last couple of years, do you still feel that cannabis is still getting a bad rap from everybody, even though all the legalization is coming through?
It's endless. Yeah, I just put on my news ticker today, right? Every morning, right? We get up and do the news, and Dr. Phil's out here with a story, and I've been on this guy's show and just completely talked about and exposed the value of cannabis. I've been on the doctors. I've been, obviously, you saw me on the Weeds episode with CNN. These people are a joke. It's pathetic how you can completely just destroy these people when you talk to them about cannabis, the cannabinoid system, the importance of it. These people have gone to medical school for I don't know how long, and I don't have a degree from San Diego State, but yet, I'm able to go on these shows that really destroy these guys. Even Dr. Phil, in this whole conversation of COVID, I said, CBD is an unbelievable applicant here to resolve COVID and not allow you to die and keep you alive, allow you to work through this. It's a 99.9% survivable virus. This is something that you need to build immunities for. And now it's being proven that that's the case. And that everybody who decided to not, go down the road of taking, not just the jab, anything like Regeneron or any of that crap. That's all just synthetic garbage. And if you trust cannabis and natural means of getting your body healthy, there's nothing, unless you have some type of severe infection That's the only pharmaceutical you should be taking is any kind of antibiotic for any wound or abscessed tooth or anything. That's the only pharmaceutical you should be taking. And at most, as if you use cannabis, you should really only probably use penicillin. It's a natural compound that's developed out of mold spores. So all these other things are very synthetic and have a potential very serious side effect in dealing with your brain. That's something I can attest to 100%. And if it wasn't for cannabis and that shift of using cannabis only to the pharmaceuticals out there, I wouldn't be here today. That's just the straight fact.
Right. And it's funny that you said that about COVID and everything else, and not to get political and everything else. I was like I said, I was Instagram stalking you, and I heard the FDA sent you a letter saying, hey, listen, you need to stop saying this can help. And before you tell your side of the story, I'm gonna let you know, I'm a first responder. Listen, I didn't get any days off. I worked through COVID. They didn't know what was going on. I was around patients all the time. I attracted COVID. I have a CBD company. I just says, you know what? I'm going to eat healthy, put more CBD into my body, keep healthy, see what happens. And within 4 to 5 days, I was done. Yep. Completely done. But the FDA is going after you going, listen, dude, you need to stop saying this stuff because it's not true. Am I correct?
Yeah, it was really crazy. I mean, I've been saying cannabis cures everything for the last 10 years or more. Why would I stop at COVID, for God's sake? I mean, this is ridiculous. It's a minor virus. Please, give me an ounce of weed and some papers. I'll smoke it out, and I'll prove it to you. I'll prove it to anybody out here. I was helping people, saving them with CBD. I would putting it out there. If you get COVID, send me the positive test. I'll send you a month's supply of CBD. Every one of those people, over 25 plus people or more, 20 plus people between 20 and 30, under 30, I have all of the evidence. I have everything from them, their positive tests, all of their written statements back to me. I got it ready and waiting for any of these people when they decide to have the conversation, but they won't. They won't. They refuse to have the conversation. Instead, they sent me a letter and prodded the FDA to send me a letter in which I did nothing wrong. We did nothing wrong as a company. The ads we were putting out was simply stating that CBD benefits your immune system, which it does, and that you can battle against Corona and COVID. Who thought or knew that we would be rolling into 1984 in live and direct with this whole stupidity? But apparently a few people did, and they really were in fear of the message that I was getting out there with cannabis, and they still are. There are a number of studies that have come out since that have proven me right, which I knew, and that were already there, but new studies that erupted since COVID on CBD alone, and every one of them speaks to cannabis and CBD specifically being able to address COVID-19 and battle against it, not let people die. They all survive. Everybody's going to be fine. It's okay. You'll have the sniffles and a little cough and chest cold, and you're going to be tired and worn down for a couple weeks, and maybe you're going to lose your sense of smell and taste, but you're not going to die, and you're going to get over it. Okay, because that's what we've done here as humans for the last, I don't know how many millions of years that we've been on this rock. So, again, it was also the industry. A couple people in the industry that seemed to be very interested in COVID's agenda really came after me. And a couple people that are out here in this game that own CBD companies that were competitors, this, that, and the other, they tried to take it as a shot, saying that I'm trying to, I don't know if it was a competitive thing where they were getting jealous that I was having this platform for my CBD company of saying, this is totally capable of dealing with this minor virus that's 99.9% survivable. Boost your immune system. It's the best chance you got is empowering your cannabinoid system. And these people who I have spoke with at conventions on these topics about everything else, they were the instrument in prodding the FDA, tweeting out. I mean, I just don't even want to mention their names. And then the things that I heard from people in the industry, even trying to come after me, from other people calling me at media outlets, saying the head of this company is trying to come after you, Kyle. I'm like, what? This is a cannabis company. What the F is going on here? How are these people getting it wrong with what understanding this plant and what its ability is and power is? Okay. And it was a complete scam that I got a direct letter from the FDA. It's going on my wall one day. As soon as we just moved back to Nashville here, it's going to be up on my wall here very soon. My letter from the FDA.
I mean, it still blows my mind how we have a plant that could, like you say, cure a lot of stuff and help a lot of people, and that people will still throw other people under the bus just for that financial gain, instead of actually letting the plant help people. And that comes to my next thing. And I know you put a post the other day for Officer Eric Swagger, one of your friends you went to high school with. And this is where I'm passionate about, of getting the ability. And this is what I deal with every time. And I'm in the process of talking to my union right now about getting access, whether it's to cannabis, medical cannabis, or at least high CBD, low THC, without failing a drug test, losing our careers, losing our pensions, something that can help us. You see the same thing. We as first responders feel like we're in the same avenue as you guys as athletes. We're tactical athletes. We use our body for our living, our body and our mind. And unlike what most people don't understand, it's a 20, 30-year career of basic, excuse the language, shit we see every day. So why can't we use a natural plant, like you're saying, to help us sleep, to help us recover from stuff, to help our bodies do it? And you created that platform, and you've sent out a little post, and I wanted to send my condolences to you for losing a friend, and to the family of Eric Swagger. And why do you feel that first responders really need access to this as well?
Well, the experience I've had has proven to me and how this can help with pain and cognitive issues. So from anything that you're dealing with an injury or an illness, you're going to be prescribed a medication. And at the end of the day, all of these synthetic medications have severe consequences in long-term use, and some are immediate, these negative side effects that occur from taking these medications. So from my personal experience of knowing firsthand how I can take like 12, this is 10, okay? Add 2 more, 12 different bottles of pills, and just go, bye, gone. Okay, these were for 20 plus years. These things added up over my sports career, all the injuries from surgeries, everything else, and then dealing with this brain thing that it's inevitability from playing the sport of football, from any head injury, as it turns out. And then just seeing my personal experience replicated in everybody else that I've exposed this to, including my father, who was retired police chief, and he had to retire because he blew his hip out, getting out of a car, stepped in a big pothole and blew his old football injury out. And, he's old anyway, so they put him to pasture and retired him. And, he went back to go trucking because he felt so good on the CBD I was giving him, that he actually failed the drug test because I was giving him a full spectrum product because he was retired. And he calls me up and he tells me, "Kyle, I tested positive for marijuana." I'm like, "What were you doing? What are you for where? You're supposed to be retired." I felt so good and amazing. It worked immediately. I was up running around. I went out to get my trucking job back. I was like, I'm like, okay, well, you could have done that. You should have talked to me. We could have given it a few weeks, let you bleed out, sweat it out. And hydrate you a bunch before you went and take a drug test. And, and since then, he's had an unbelievable recovery, learning how to use CBD, went back into trucking, still using CBD, understanding you can stay away from the THC and the drug tests and all these other things. But, the experience that you can give someone with a full plant is undeniable. And so now you hope that, and one good thing is in California right now, they just put out that there is no limit to the THC amount in a person's body. It doesn't, the way they termed it is that it doesn't prove impairment. So, somebody like me who uses it constantly and it helps me, it makes me more functional. In fact, I couldn't drive prior to being able to use cannabis from light sensitivity and this fear and threat of vertigo happening at any moment, which happened multiple times while I was driving prior to having this, resolution in cannabis. And all of these factors again, and then dealing with the everyday real world problems. I'm married, I got kids, I deal with the real world like anybody else. And it's nothing in comparison to what cops and firemen have to go through in dealing with the real world, in that they're called upon for these crazy scenarios and situations that happen constantly. I have to deal with it on a smaller scale in my house when, my Christmas lights don't work after I line them all up and put them on the fence to, my kid coming home and not cleaning his room, and these things that really are big, massive things that can get out of control in a bad brain really quickly. Fighting with your wife, just bills, this, that, and the other, business, with business partners. We've got a very serious problem out here from our police forces, our military, first responders, firemen, everybody that deals with EMTs that are out here driving these ambulances, come up on these horrific incidents and are called upon to, at times, go into action. And then just the head injury in and of itself from the everyday person that just falls. These things create damage that synthetic medications should never be applied to. Any kind of trauma, PTSD should never be addressed with a synthetic medication. Those things only create bigger problems, mask what's going on, and never allow you to deal with it. Cannabis allows you to completely compartmentalize every little thing in front of you. As long as you know what you're using and how to use it, this plant is the savior. It is, what this is. And this is your endogenous cannabinoid system. And when you can figure it out and unlock this system inside of you and understand how to operate it, the things to give it, I got way more life than I was expecting to have just 7-8 years ago.
Right. Let me get your point of view, and I want to re-unpack what you just said about the everybody being able to do stuff. The biggest issue we're having with what we're having right now is, like you said, the impairment level with the THC and everything else. You take THC products, you're not confused, foggy, dull, unable to perform, unable to do anything. It's not impairing you from doing stuff that you have to do, correct?
In fact, the opposite. It empowers you. It gives you clarity. Again, you can choose the things in cannabis that get you high and put you on the couch and make you hungry and do nothing and forget about your problems. And you can do that. And you should be able to do that. We're in America, for God's sake. And why not? If this is your life and you have to live it, and there are things going on around you that are really hard to deal with, why shouldn't you be able to just choose that route? Yeah, that's fine. Or you're a kid growing up and you just, whatever, you just don't get it, right? And so you're doing that. You'll figure it out. I would rather have kids using cannabis than getting into the alcohol and pills that they're getting into because they're so readily and easily accessible. And that just perpetuates so many problems in our society. that, if anything, the stigma behind cannabis should be completely, redirected towards those. And these people should completely shift and pivot from where they're going in this, allowing alcohol and all these other things. You look at the problems and the fight that cannabis has had to try and, get an opportunity. And it's just so crazy to think where we are and where we came from, and where we're at today with this whole conversation, truly needs to advance to the degree where our police officers, our first responders, in Israel right now, in the field, soldiers are prescribed cannabis. They're allowed to smoke cannabis in the battlefield. They use this and they apply it in Israel constantly in medical situations. Cannabis is applied in the hospitals. For COVID-19, even they were putting cannabis in the hospitals for COVID-19 patients. We continue to get sucked into this conversation of that we need more time, but we don't. We've had all the time that we need to see that big pharma has killed over 13 million Americans. And that is just completely unacceptable to me. And that, there's a substance like cannabis out here that has no death rate attached to it. All these things that are continuing to come about with cannabis that are real showstoppers. You have the only neuroprotective substance on the planet, cannabinoids. No other patent exists in the United States or any other government agency, scientific group that's filed a patent on anything, any pharmaceutical company filing a patent on a medication, not one. The only neuroprotective patent that exists in the world is on cannabinoids, and it's filed by the United States government in 2006. Okay, long enough for them to have done a few studies on this. On top of that, another statistic that cannabis has the opportunity to ride on is another shocker: not one death attributed to cannabis in the history of the world. Okay, so all of these things that should say, whoa, reverse, let's start giving everybody marijuana. Let's put it in liquor stores. Let's put it in the grocery store. Let's put it everywhere so people can make the choice. That's the fear they have. That's the fear. In California, I see it firsthand as a business operator in cannabis. The taxation is out of control, and they are clearly doing it to tax out all the small business owners, all the people that are, struggling to pay those bills for their corporate interests to take it over. And, people are doing their best to try and stay in that game. And it is getting really scary. The direction that they're continuing to take. But at the same time, they're taking that direction, ironically, so that the pharmaceutical companies can own it. You look at CVS, all these, they just settled right in the big pharmaceutical opioid scandal, Walgreens, CVS, Walmart, all these. Look at their logos now. Look at CVS's logo. It's a plant. Now it's a plant. And they're selling CBD in there. And they're got every one of their executives are all in the cannabis companies. And before you know it, here, I truly believe that they have a very sinister plan to put every one of the marijuana pot shops out of business, and that this then, with their patents, becomes a medicine. And so we'll see where that goes. But the train's down the road, down the tracks, whatever. And too many people are making too much money right now. And hopefully the Banking Act comes through and it'll change it all.
Right, definitely. And the cool thing that we just said, and this is what I want everybody to understand who's listening, is basically people like Kyle, people like myself, we're not, of course, we got to make money to actually get good products, but we're not in it just for the money. We're in it for people's health. And we're not teaching, like you said, we're not you should have the choice whether you want to sit on the couch, smoke as much as you want, eat as much Smarties as you want. But professionals, like professional athletes, entrepreneurs, those who have those issues, first responders, they're not looking to take this product to eat a bunch of chips and Doritos on the couch. They're looking it to actually extend their career and actually have a life after their career. And that's the biggest thing that reason I wanted to get you on my show, and I wanted to talk about it. Talk to me a little bit more about the company you have going on right now, Revenant.
Yeah, we started this company earlier this year, May, I think it was. We launched in June. I mean, it's been something in the works to try and navigate and get out and produce here for over a year. But we've got a brand out there in the cannabis space. It's out in all, as many shops as we're trying to get into in California. As we succeed in California, we'll then replicate that across the country. We've got other states in line. We've got deals we're talking with other providers with in these other medical marijuana states, full recreational states. But our focus is fully on California right now. I got myself, Jim McMahon, Eben Britton, former podcast host of Mike Tyson's Hot Boxing, NFL player, Jim McMahon, Super Bowls, myself, three real, strong NFL players, three different eras of football that we've come together through advocacy and really fighting for this plant. Originally came together in a concept I had called the Gridiron Cannabis Coalition, and we really went around to all these conventions in the beginning and got on the stages, told our stories, added our likenesses, the conversation, and gotten some news, cameras and people around it, and made some headway. Obviously, we're here, and the NFL doesn't test or suspend players for cannabis anymore. They still test, unfortunately. But they seem to want to know why people are using cannabis and what they're using maybe at this point. So we'll see where that goes. But once the doors open, they can't shut it because, it's just that powerful. And the experience is that undeniable of how cannabis works better than these pharmaceuticals. And more players are going to continue to stand up and, fight for it, because the pills, they have a shelf life. They have a shelf life in their dates that they give out, and how you should, when you should take them and how throw them away. And they also have a shelf life and when they're effective. And that's why you can continue to take over and over and over again, more and more pills, because they just don't work and they create more problems. Your body then just gets ravaged by these side effects that are very, very real on the sides of these bottles and in these commercials that they get to parade around TV with and all. Meanwhile, our best are out here suffering and trying their best to try and deal with all these issues in this world that, I was going through the airport one time and this officer was like, give me a hassle over some weed I had in my bag. And I was like, it was in California. I'm like, this is my medicine. I'm like, I have a card. You can't arrest me for it. You can give it back to me and I'll go put it back in my car. Otherwise, I'm going from cannabis state to a cannabis state, and it doesn't matter. You're just giving your personal opinion. And the guy says to me, something like, well, I just drink coffee. Like, well, that's a great, I says to him, well, that's a great neuroprotectant. That's a very neurostimulant, neuroprotective substance. You should continue to drink coffee. But I said, you should also start taking away all the other pills that you're taking and replace them with this plant. And the guy was like, what? It's awesome to be able to get in these conversations with people and change their minds. And I hope that we can continue to do that. Thanks to you and the Good Dudes Grow podcast and the efforts that you're making for first responders and standing up for your brothers, because that's what this is about. If this is about our brothers, then we need to start saving our brothers. We can't save our brothers out here with these nerds back here with their beakers trying to figure it out. Good Lord, put it in the ground. It's here. If we're going to swear on this book, if we're going to, push all these oaths out here in society, when we go to court, when we're being governed and all these other things off of this book, right? This book that we're saying guides us, then the herbs of the earth being for the benefit of man are what we should be fighting for. And for our first responders, especially because of the neuroprotective and beneficial aspects of cannabis. I can deal with the pain. You're a tough guy. We're all tough guys. We can deal with all these injuries and pain and falling down and getting back up. We get it, okay? But this is the deciding factor up here, and it creates just a complete fog in front of you when you don't have the ability to have control over it. And that's what cannabis provides. It provides an unbelievable control, which is the opposite of what they want you to believe. So, you know, you get back into those conversations, unfortunately.
Right. Could not have said it any better myself. And just so it makes you feel better, I'm also stalking Eben. He's coming on my show, and I'm also stalking Jim as well. I'm trying to get to him.
Excellent.
So if you could put a little good word in with Jim McMahon, he was I followed him when I was watching football too with the Bears. So tell him like I'm trying to hit him up.
I will.
If they wanted to follow Kyle, if they wanted to follow your Revenant, and they wanted to follow you and all your stores, everything, where could they do that?
Again, it's a California marijuana company, so you know we're out there. You can't buy anything from us online. These things, so ask your local dispensary. Give a call. We're not on weed maps and all these things yet. We're working out deals with them. Very political and how these whole things work. So and expensive as well, and that. So we're working our way up. We had a great soft launch. We're in probably 20 plus stores across California right now. So make sure from Northern California to Southern California, we got a shop that's close enough to you where you can go get our products. And if you're, not afraid to travel, get on an airplane and fly out there.
Right.
With a driver's license, you can purchase cannabis at a recreational market space. And, hopefully we're in there. But Revenant, RevenantMJ.com. I created it off of watching the movie The Revenant with Leonardo DiCaprio, and there's a scene in there where the Indian gives him something, covers him up, after he got attacked by the bear, and he comes out of that the next morning after having this full trip, of going through, remembering all these things, and he was finally asleep, and he woke up the next morning and came out of that cave in that frozen environment, and he was a new man, and went on to have his Revenant, and recover his life and get his revenge. And for me and the rest of my brothers, that's always our goal, right? Especially and first responders as well. We want that one more down, that one more call, to go be the hero. And I have those experiences because of cannabis. I was on the freeway, jumping on the freeway the other day, and some woman in her minivan had stalled right in the middle of the freeway. A completely dangerous scenario. I got on an exit. I was like, time for some superhero shit. Let's go. I got off the next exit. I gunned it. I came back around. She was still there, and cars were like getting all around. And now, it was on a freeway, and here in Nashville is super scary, like 5-6 lanes of cars, and nobody was like helping this woman. And I came back around. I played the whole scenario out in my head, and I just got a good workout in that morning, so I was feeling strong. And came up behind, put the hazards on, put it in park, ran up to the car, boom, picked it up from behind, grabbed that bumper, and it was kind of on an uphill grade even, and I just muscled that thing like, just getting that, and just got it going, started pushing it. Nobody helped. There's cars all around, nobody helped, and I just pushed that whole minivan with that woman in it. She pulled it to the side, and I had to turn around and do a full sprint, like maybe 50 yards back to my truck, and the cars are just flying around. I'm just like, yeah.
That is so awesome.
It was awesome, man.
Kyle, I'm going to put all the social links and everything else, website, into the show notes. I appreciate you taking the time of your day talking with me. It was an awesome, like, again, I'm honored to have you on my show. Like I said, you propelled me into where I am and the mission I'm doing now, and I thank you for it. And I'm super excited for what you and your company are doing and everything that you're doing. So just keep it up.
Thank you, brother. I truly appreciate it. If you want CBD, and know what that's like, go to neuroxpf.com. You can order it straight to your door. It's CBD only, no THC, only CBD, pure CBD, triple tested, 100% pure, straight out of one source in Colorado. None of this trash out here getting diluted from all these other companies. Trust me, if you want to know what CBD is about, go to neuroxpf.com, order it to your doorstep, give it to your grandma, anybody, your kids. My daughter survived a diabetic scenario that we had no clue, that hit us out of left field, and she's type 1 diabetic, and her numbers were so off the charts that they asked us, what were we giving her? What are we doing with her? Because every other kid would have died in this scenario that she was under. And we told them that we give her CBD daily. And since she's had this decline of feeling bad, we always up the CBD count. And she didn't go in a coma. She didn't die. And she's doing amazing. So it saved my life. It's now saved my daughter's life. My wife doesn't have cancers anymore, skin cancers, for 10 years. No more. I've cured neuropathy with full plant extracts. Take RSO oil. It will change your life, and take it every day. And then Revenant, we're just trying to expose these strains out here in marijuana that are truly medicinal based. They make you feel great, which is awesome as well. And why shouldn't we have that in this amazing world we live in, to get our lives back and start podcasts and companies and give back to people and help save others. So I truly appreciate the opportunity, as always. Thank you so much to your team, everybody that's really pushing hard to keep this thing rolling, this conversation going with first responders and cannabis. I hope that we can get this resolved. It's necessary. It's not just my desire. It is necessary. And I hope these police unions out here listen to this, and it gets around, and we can have all of our brothers still continue to live and have these great productive lives, making great decisions and keeping families together. Thank you, brother.
100%. Thank you, Kyle. You have yourself a great day.
You too, man. Take care.
Later.
Good Dudes Grow 2.0. Thank you for tuning in. If you're still listening to this, that means you gained something out of this episode. So make sure you share it with a friend, leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Good Dudes Grow 2.0.